Well, good morning, magandang umaga, and welcome to today's episode of My PI Dream. Down here in the basement this morning, and why you're probably asking, because I have a project that I started working on yesterday, and I'm going to continue working on today. Now, last night, Ness kindly reminded me that if you're working on a project, you should be sharing it with your YouTube audience. So I decided this morning to catch you up on the project that I'm working on today. It's not a really big project, but it's kind of a fun project for me. And it's kind of a challenge, and I will tell you once we get into today's episode why it's a challenge. Now, let's go ahead and get into today's episode. So without further delay, let's get today's video underway. Now, today's episode doesn't have anything to do with the tiki bar back here, but it does have to do with the project that I want to work on down here in the basement. Now, I'm going to show you in just a moment. We kind of have our little movie theater area where we watch movies sometimes in the evening. It's part of our stage, our multimedia platform that we have in one of the rooms here inside the basement. Well, one of the things that Ness and I like to do sometimes when we're watching a movie, we like to munch, or sometimes we like to have dinner. It's like a dinner theater where we bring our food down, sit at the couch, and watch the movie. Unfortunately, what we've had to use in the past, well, let me show you what we've had to use. Now, in the past, what Ness and I have been doing, we've been using these little stools. They're sort of our makeshift dining table down here. I have one here. Ness will have one here. We have several of these. They're all over the place. We use them for parties and get-togethers. And maybe we'll set another one here to put some drinks on it, and we'll kind of eat, and we'll watch our movie from this position right here. But it's really, the height isn't very good, and we don't really have a lot of room here. It would be nice if we had a platform or a table that covered this whole area where we could put everything on a table, and something that we can move out of the way quite easily and maybe multi-function it to use it for some other piece of decorative furniture down here while we're not using it for a table. So let me show you an idea that I thought might work out for this situation. So before I get started, let me tell you what my challenges are and what my criteria to build this project is today. Well, we'll start with the criteria because that comes before the challenge. The criteria is I have to build a table made from scraps that I have around the house here. Some leftover building supplies from the build of the house or some of the other projects that I have. Because as you know, all the building supply stores are closed. There is no normal businesses open here because we are under a enhanced community quarantine. So I have to look. I have to go all over the place, and that's what I did. I went inside my storage room where the generator room is basically, and I looked through all the little things that are inside there. I looked in other places around the house. So what I came up with some building materials, leftovers, that I'm going to use for my little table project. There comes the challenge, because what I decided to do is I decided to use some of the granite that we have left over from the barbecue grill project that is on the back porch on the ground level floor. I have some granite left over. I have it, some of it I already have set aside for some other projects that I know I'm going to be working on later, but I have some other pieces that I think that are remnants that I can use for this project here. So what is the challenge? Because I'm using granite and I'm connecting it to some composite wood, the challenge is making sure that we have good glue adhesive. Basically, I'm going to have to use something like epoxy and some screws so that it doesn't easily break off, snap off, basically the little tabletop on the platform that's going to be sitting on. Because what I want to do, well, let me show you what I want to do. It's much easier to show you than to sit here and talk about it. So let's go over to the other side of the garage and take a look at the project I've already started. Now this is the granite that was left over from the countertop area for the barbecue grill up on the lanai on the ground floor. And it went a little bit further down in that direction. Well, to be exact, it went 110 centimeters further out this section, 30 centimeters, and then I cut off a section 110 centimeters, just a little over 1 meter is what I cut off at the end, which is going to be our tabletop. Now, this is my 110 centimeters by 30 centimeter tabletop. This is what we're going to use to eat on. It's actually upside down, and the reason it's upside down is because I need to add additional support for it to connect to a center post. And this post you see right here, this is not the center post, but the center post is identical to this, but it's inside the garage. So what I did was I drew a little guide. I took a pencil and I went around and traced the squareness of this. I made sure it was centered, and then after I did that, I took one of the 2x4 composite wood that I have for the deck railing, and I took some epoxy and I made this connected to the epoxy right here. So the whole idea behind this is we're going to put a bead of epoxy all around here. We're going to put a bead of epoxy around here, and then the post on the inside that I'm going to show you in just a minute, we're going to attach it here to give it strength. Now we'll probably put another support on this side and another support on this side to give it additional support, so in case somebody puts too much pressure on either side, it won't fall and break at this point right here. Epoxy is extremely strong, and I believe it will satisfy the requirement for the post. Now let me turn this over and I'll show you something. Now today what I'm going to do, and I've already started, you see this grinder, and I bought one of these special bits inside here, one of these special discs. And what this disc will do, it will aid in doing the rounding, basically a corner round all around this top to make it smooth. I already did some on the top and the bottom, and this will do the biggest amount of the workload. And then later I'll take a polishing wheel and start with a very coarse grit and work it down to fine, and we'll make this nice and smooth around here so that we don't bang our knees on it and injure ourselves. So basically you take the grinder and you just go around here like this, and you go around the entire top, and it'll give you a nice smooth edges. We've already gotten some of it done already, but this is just for the coarse grinding. And then, like I said, we'll use the buffing pad wheel, and start from a coarse pad and work our way down to a fine pad to make it nice and shiny and seem seamless. Now what we have here is kind of an assembled piece already. I did this yesterday from leftover pieces. Remember, the whole object is to use remnants, leftover pieces in the garage, whatever I could find. Well, I found this old base that goes to an umbrella stand. I have some more of the post for the leftover post for the composite deck railing, and this umbrella stand has a tube that is almost the exact same size as the hole inside the composite post. So I slid this over, I drilled a little hole inside here. This is normally a little screw mount where when you put the post in, you can secure your umbrella to the pole that's inside here. And then what I did is I drilled 4 holes in the base here, and I put some stainless steel screws in here, and secured it to the base. And then what I'll end up doing around this portion of the base where there's a gap, I'll just use some marine epoxy and I'll smooth it off very nice. Then I'll do a final paint of the base for aesthetics to make it look nice here inside the basement. Then what we'll do is we'll mount the granite that already has that piece of 2x4 that will fit perfectly inside here. We'll put epoxy here, epoxy on the inside, and then we'll put 4 screws around here to continue to enhance the strength of the top onto the post. Then for one more measure to make sure that it's nice and strong, we'll put a corner piece, maybe a 45-degree wedge that goes inside here, and we'll also screw it and epoxy it to the post and epoxy it to the base of the granite tabletop. right, well I think I'm good with doing the buffing here. I used several different grades of grit for this buffing. I started off with a 50 grit and I worked my way all the way to 3000 grit. I think I used a 50, a 100, a 150, 200, 300, 500, 1000, 2000 and 3000. I think that's what I use. But for just a little table in the background, I think that's good enough for this. There's a final type of a polish that you can do to get it really shiny. I don't have that, but I can use some different type of compounds to try to make it a little bit shinier. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to bring this inside and we're going to see if we can fit it on top of the pedestal. And what I'll probably use epoxy and some screws, and then we'll put those 45-degree supports in after we get this fitted. Now what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put some epoxy around this little mounting plate right here. It's going to fit inside this hole right here, but I'm also going to put some of the epoxy around this area. So we'll have two places that we're going to bond. We're going to bond to the post itself and on the inside of the post using this portion of this little mounting plate. Then eventually what we're going to do, we're going to put a side support on here, so if there's any pushing movement on any weight on either side, say you rest your elbows or anything, you'll have additional support there so you won't break this connection in the center. I'm going to use this epoxy plastic bonder. It's the only, I have some marine epoxy, but I think this will work better because this flows a little bit better. The marine epoxy is really thick, but it's very strong. It's what I use for under sink, when I do under sink stainless steel sink mounting to granite. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go ahead and put some around here, around the edge of this plate right here, and go ahead and set this and do a level to make sure we're leveled fine. I will tell you this is rated at 3,450 psi. This is a composite, even though it's a plastic bonder. Plastic bonder. It also works with polycarbonates, acrylics, ABS, and this is a composite here that has some plastics in it as well. So I think this will serve its purpose fine. Now epoxy comes in a two-part mix. It has a resin and a hardener. So what we'll do, I have a little bit left in here. I'll use up what's left over inside this one right here, and then I'll add this other one here. So when you use these little tubes, they have two tubes. One is the resin and one is the hardener. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we'll mix them together, and it becomes activated. You want to do a 50-50 of the resin and the hardener. Okay, so everything looks good. It's nice and level. What I'm going to do, I'm going to allow this to cure for 24 hours. About this time tomorrow, maybe around lunchtime, a little after lunchtime. What I'll do is I will come back to this and we will put some type of supports underneath here. And I'll come up with that. We have plenty of leftover building materials and the same composite wood that the post is made out of. So that'll be for tomorrow. Something else I would really like to do, but I don't have it as part of my criteria for having things around the house. I would like to cut a hole in each corner for a cup and have a mount underneath so that the cup slides through so that you don't accidentally knock it over while you're eating with your spoon or fork. but we might do that in a follow-on upgrade to this project right here. I think this is going to work really nice. We can slide this in when we're eating, so it's a little bit closer to us. But if we want to sit here, watch the movie, and then eat as we're going along, this is fine. Remember, it could have been a little deeper, but we had to use what was left over, and this was the size that was left over. So I think this will be fine. Let me put a cup on, and we'll see what the cup, maybe if I have a plate around here somewhere, we can also put a plate on. Well, I think this is going to work out just fine. I think Ness will like this. This is going to be a surprise. She hasn't seen this yet. Now, this project is not done. I still have to put the supports underneath the bottom and put a little bit of marine epoxy underneath the very base of the post on the bottom. But yeah, I'm happy so far. I think this is gonna be a great addition. Then when we're not using this, we'll take this, we'll put it up against the wall up there, and we could put something on there, maybe some plants or something like that while we're not using it. So it'll be multifunctional, like I said. And if I can at some point, cup holders built into the granite drop down. That will be a later project. I'll source out, see what I can find. Now, we haven't done this in a long time, but I have a birthday shout out. We have a birthday shout out today, belated birthday shout out for April 3rd. And if we have requests, we try to get them in as much as possible. And it's for Sam Garfietto. I hope I pronounced that right, Sam Garfietto. Anyway, he is from, let me see if I can look at the name. The name of the town is Guyambal, Iloilo. So anyway, Sam, I want to wish you a happy birthday. Okay, well, that's going to be about it for today's episode. I hope you found it enjoyable. I hope maybe you learned that even though that we're stuck at home right now, there are things that we can do from junk that's kind of laying around the house. Sometimes it's fun doing these kind of projects. If you have the tools, if you have the know-how, and if you have a YouTube channel that you can turn to and get inspired. I hope you guys got inspired today. Anyway, that's it for today. Tomorrow, again, we'll try to continue on with this project. And one more thing, thanks to all of you folks that are sending in the great comments and great questions too, both on email as well as on the comment section here on My PI Dream. Now, if you enjoyed today's episode, please give me a thumbs up, please share, and if you have not subscribed, just click on that little My PI Dream heart in the bottom right hand side of your screen. You will be subscribed and you will be notified the next time I upload a new video. So until such time, stay safe and God, have a wonderful and blessed day. If you enjoyed today's episode and you would like to see more just like these, just click on one of the helpful links over to your right and you might be able to pick up on some good information on DIY projects, how to, or if you are interested in moving to the Philippines and building, you'll find answers there as well.